morning sky over Denver turned black as shadows fell across the city. Jake Morrison looked up from his coffee and saw them coming. Massive ships, bigger than football stadiums, moved slowly through the clouds. Their surfaces looked like dark crystal, reflecting the sunlight in strange ways that made his eyes hurt. "This is not a drill." His radio crackled to life. "All units report to stations immediately." Jake grabbed his gear and ran. As a captain in the 82nd Airborne Division, he had trained for many things. But nothing had prepared him for this. The alien ships stopped moving and just hung there in the sky like giant death machines waiting to strike. The first blast came without warning. A beam of white light shot down from the largest ship and hit the federal building. The entire structure simply disappeared, leaving nothing but empty space where it used to stand. No explosion, no debris, just gone. Jake's radio filled with panicked voices from all over the city. The same thing was happening everywhere. New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, London, Tokyo. Every major city on Earth was under attack at the same time. "They came out of nowhere," reported Colonel Barnes over the emergency channel. "We had no advance warning. Our satellites detected nothing until they were already here." The aliens moved with terrible efficiency. Their ships spread across the planet like a plague. Earth's military forces tried to fight back, but their weapons were useless. Missiles bounced off the alien ships like raindrops. Fighter jets fell from the sky when strange energy beams touched them. Jake found himself in the middle of downtown Denver, with what remained of his unit. Lieutenant Lisa Carter from the Marines had joined them, along with Navy engineer Paul Rodriguez. They had maybe 30 soldiers left from what started as 300. "Sir, what are our orders?" Lisa asked. Her uniform was torn and dirty, but her eyes still burned with determination. Jake looked at the alien ships hanging overhead like storm clouds. "We keep fighting until we can't fight anymore." The battle lasted 3 days. Jake watched good soldiers die trying to protect civilians who had nowhere to run. Dr. Amanda Brooks, a surgeon from the local hospital, had set up a medical station in an abandoned store. She worked without stopping, trying to save anyone she could bring to her. Kevin Davis, a construction worker who lived nearby, helped move the wounded. He knew the city better than anyone and could find safe paths through the rubble. His strong hands and calm voice became a source of hope for people who had lost everything. Paul Rodriguez used his engineering skills to keep their communications working. He figured out how to boost their radio signals and keep their equipment running even when the alien attacks knocked out the power grid. On the third day, everything changed. The aliens finally came down to ground level. They were tall, maybe 8 feet high, with bodies that looked like giant insects. Their skin was hard and dark like beetle shells. They had 4 arms and eyes that looked like broken glass reflecting light in all directions. They moved through the city in groups, carrying weapons that hummed with energy. When they found humans, they herded them together like cattle. Anyone who tried to run got hit with some kind of stun beam that made them fall down and shake. Jake watched from a broken window as hundreds of people were pushed into the main square. The aliens set up some kind of energy barrier around the area to keep everyone inside. Children cried while their parents held them close. Old people sat on the ground because they were too tired to stand. "We have to do something," Lisa whispered beside him. "With what?" Jake replied. "We have maybe a dozen bullets left between all of us." One of the aliens stepped forward. It was bigger than the others and had red markings on its shell. When it spoke, its voice came from a small device attached to its chest. The words were in perfect English. "I am Commander Vexthul. Your world now belongs to the Zephyrian Empire. You will be transported to work colonies where you will serve useful purposes. Those who cooperate will be fed. Those who resist will die." The crowd of humans stood silent. Parents held their children tighter. Some people were crying quietly. Then something unexpected happened. Jake saw an old man near the front of the crowd straighten his back and look directly at the alien. "Commander, my name is George Miller," the old man said in a clear voice. "I served in 3 wars defending this country. I won't bow to you or anyone else." The alien commander turned its strange eyes toward the old man. You are in no position to make demands, human. George Miller smiled. Maybe not, but I'm still free up here. He tapped his temple with one finger, and that's something you can't take away. Other people in the crowd began to stand straighter. A woman named Mary Johnson stepped forward. He's right. We might be your prisoners, but we're still Americans, still human. The alien commander seemed confused by this response. In Jake's experience, most people became quiet and scared when faced with overwhelming force. These people were scared too, but they were not breaking down. Jake made a decision that would change everything. He stood up from his hiding spot and walked out into the open. Lisa, Paul, Kevin, and Dr. Brooks followed him. Their small group of survivors marched straight toward the alien troops. Captain Morrison, 82nd Airborne Division, Jake announced as he approached the energy barrier. I surrender myself and my people to your custody. Commander Vexthul studied Jake with those broken glass eyes. You show wisdom, human soldier. Your cooperation will be noted. Jake looked the alien commander directly in the face. I'm not cooperating. I'm just tired of watching my people get hurt. But you should know something before you add us to your collection. What is that? Jake smiled the same way George Miller had smiled. You might have our world, but you'll never break our spirit. We're Americans. We're human. And we don't give up. The alien commander made a sound that might have been laughter. All conquered species believe they are special. You will learn otherwise. As Jake and his people were pushed into the containment area with the other prisoners, he noticed something interesting. The alien guards seemed nervous. They kept their weapons ready and watched the humans carefully as if they expected trouble. Dr. Brooks immediately went to work helping injured people. Kevin Davis began organizing groups to share food and water. Paul Rodriguez started figuring out how the alien technology worked. Lisa Carter made sure everyone knew they were not alone, and Jake began to understand something important. The aliens had conquered Earth's armies and destroyed Earth's cities. But they had made one critical mistake. They thought defeating humans would be the same as defeating any other species. They were about to learn how wrong they were. As night fell over the ruined city, something strange happened in the containment area. Despite being prisoners, despite losing their world, despite facing an uncertain future, the humans began to talk to each other. They shared stories about their families. They made jokes about their situation. Some even began to sing old songs. The alien guards watched all of this with growing confusion. In their experience, conquered peoples became silent and depressed. These humans were acting like they were at some kind of gathering instead of a prison camp. Commander Vexthul filed his first report to the Zephyrian High Command that night. Human conquest proceeding as planned, he wrote. However, prisoner behavior is unusual. Recommend additional study of human psychology. He did not yet understand that he had just written the first chapter of his empire's downfall. The humans were just getting started. The first week in the alien prison camp tested everyone's limits. Commander Vexthul watched the human prisoners from his observation platform and tried to understand what he was seeing. According to all Zephyrian military manuals, the humans should be broken by now. The aliens had used their standard methods. They separated the humans into smaller groups of 20 people each. They gave them barely enough food to survive. They made them work long hours moving heavy stones from one pile to another for no reason except to exhaust them. Most conquered species fell apart under this treatment. They became sad and hopeless. They stopped talking to each other. Some tried to earn favor with their guards by reporting on fellow prisoners. This made it easy for the Zephyrians to control them. But these humans were different. Dr. Amanda Brooks had been put in Group 7 with 19 other people. The aliens took away her medical supplies and told her she was not allowed to treat sick prisoners. She looked at the alien guard who delivered this message and spoke in a calm voice. Became a doctor to help people who are hurt or sick. That is what I do. It is who I am. She picked up a piece of torn cloth from her shirt. You can take away my tools, but you cannot take away my knowledge or my duty to heal. The guard made a clicking sound that meant confusion in the Zephyrian language. Dr. Brooks ignored him and walked over to an elderly woman who had fallen while carrying stones. She knelt down and began examining the woman's injured leg. Stop, the guard ordered, raising his energy weapon. Dr. Brooks looked up at him. Then shoot me, but I will not watch people suffer when I can help them. The guard hesitated. In his training, prisoners were supposed to beg for mercy or try to bargain for their lives. This human woman seemed ready to die rather than abandon her principles. He lowered his weapon and walked away, making notes in his report pad. Across the camp, Kevin Davis was having his own impact on the Zephyrian guards. He had been assigned to Group 12 and given the job of building temporary shelters for the prisoners. The aliens expected him to make basic structures that would barely keep out the rain. Instead, Kevin organized his group like a construction crew. He taught them how to measure distances by counting steps. He showed them how to make strong joints using pieces of metal from broken equipment. Within 3 days, Group 12 had built shelters that were stronger and more comfortable than anything the aliens had expected. "This is not permitted," Guard Captain Zexnel told Kevin when he saw the improved shelters. "You will tear down these structures and build simple ones." Kevin stopped working and looked at the alien. "Why?" The question seemed to confuse the guard captain. "Because I have ordered it. But these shelters are better. They will keep my people warmer and drier. They will make us healthier so we can work harder for you." Kevin's logic was simple, but effective. "Isn't that what you want?" Guard Captain. Zexnel found himself unable to answer. The human's reasoning made sense, but it went against standard prisoner management protocols. He decided to let the shelter stand while he requested guidance from his superiors. Paul Rodriguez was making the aliens nervous in a completely different way. He had been studying their technology since the day of capture. While other prisoners moved stones or built shelters, Paul watched how the alien equipment worked. He noticed that their energy barriers flickered in a regular pattern every 37 seconds. He saw that their communication devices used a frequency that interfered with their own weapon systems when used too close together. Most importantly, he discovered that Zephyrian technology was built for users who followed rules and procedures. Exactly. Paul began sharing this information with other prisoners during mealtimes. He taught them to watch for patterns and weaknesses. He showed them how small acts of creative thinking could disrupt alien systems in ways the designers never expected. "Their machines are very advanced," Paul explained to a group of prisoners one evening. "But they are also very rigid. They expect everything to work in a logical, predictable way. That might be their biggest weakness." Meanwhile, Lisa Carter was doing something that worried the aliens even more. She was creating order among the prisoners. Despite being separated into different groups, the humans had begun to communicate with each other using hand signals, coded messages, and whispered conversations during work details. Lisa used her military training to establish a chain of command that crossed group boundaries. She identified natural leaders in each group and created a network of communication that the aliens could not see or stop. Within 2 weeks, every human prisoner knew what was happening in every other group. The aliens tried to break up this communication network by moving prisoners to different groups randomly, but the humans adapted faster than their captors could react. New signals were created. New leaders emerged. The network grew stronger instead of weaker. Jake Morrison had become the unofficial spokesperson for all the human prisoners. Whenever Commander Vexthul wanted to make an announcement or deliver a threat, he called for Jake to represent the humans. "Your people are not following proper prisoner protocols," Vexthul told Jake during one of their meetings. "They continue to organize and resist our authority." Jake shrugged. "What did you expect? You conquered our world, but you did not conquer us." "Explain this difference." "A world is just dirt and rocks and buildings. It can be destroyed or captured. But people are different. We carry our real home inside us. Our beliefs, our values, our love for each other. You cannot bomb that or shoot it with energy weapons." Vexthul's compound eyes reflected light as he processed this concept. "You are prisoners. You have no power. Your resistance is meaningless." Jake smiled. "Is it? Then why are you having so much trouble with us?" The alien commander had no answer for that question. The breaking point came during the 3rd week when an old man named Robert Taylor collapsed while moving stones. He was clearly sick and could barely stand, but the alien guards ordered him to keep working. Dr. Brooks immediately left her work detail and ran to help him. 3 other prisoners followed her, then 5 more. Within minutes, 20 humans had abandoned their assigned tasks to care for the sick man. The guards raised their weapons and ordered everyone back to work. The humans ignored them. Dr. Brooks knelt beside Robert and began checking his vital signs. Kevin Davis used his shirt to make a pillow for the old man's head. Lisa Carter stood between the guards and the patient, ready to protect them. "Return to work or face punishment," Guard Captain Zexnall announced. The humans looked at him with expressions he had never seen before. They were not afraid. They were not angry. They looked at him with something that might have been pity. "We are helping a sick friend," Dr. Brooks said without looking up from her patient. "If you want to shoot us for that, go ahead, but we will not abandon him." The other prisoners began to gather around the scene. Soon, over 100 humans stood in a circle around Robert Taylor and his caregivers. They were not threatening the guards or trying to escape. They were simply refusing to leave their friend alone. The aliens found themselves facing a situation they had never encountered before. They could shoot the humans, but that would mean killing over 100 prisoners. For the crime of showing compassion, they could try to drag the humans away by force, but there were too many of them. For the first time in Zephyrian military history, the guards retreated. They stepped back and waited while the humans took care of their sick friend. That night, Commander Vexthul filed a report that would send shockwaves through the Zephyrian High Command. "Human prisoners continue to display abnormal behavior," he wrote. "Standard psychological pressure techniques are proving ineffective. Prisoners show increased unity and resistance rather than breakdown and submission. Request immediate consultation with Imperial Psychological Warfare Division." The humans had won their first major victory without firing a shot or throwing a punch. They had simply refused to let their captors turn them into something they were not, and in the darkness of their prison barracks, they began to plan what came next. The 3rd month of captivity brought changes that nobody expected. Commander Vexthul had received new orders from the Zephyrian High Command. The Empire's psychological warfare experts had studied the reports from Earth and decided to implement extreme measures. "These humans require special treatment," the orders read. "Standard prisoner management has failed. Begin Phase 2. Psychological breakdown protocols immediately." The new protocols were designed to destroy the human spirit completely. The aliens began separating prisoners who showed leadership qualities. They reduced food rations by half. They made the work details longer and more pointless. Most importantly, they began selecting prisoners for public punishment to terrorize the others. The first target was George Miller, the old veteran who had spoken up on the day of capture. He was dragged from his group and brought to the center of camp where all the prisoners could see him. Commander Vexthul announced that George would receive 20 lashes with an energy whip for inciting rebellion among the prisoners. The other humans were forced to watch as George was tied to a metal post. The energy whip crackled with electricity and left burning marks wherever it touched skin. Most alien prisoners would scream and beg for mercy after the first few lashes. George Miller gritted his teeth and stayed silent. After 10 lashes, he lifted his head and looked directly at Commander Vexthul. "Is that all you got?" he asked in a hoarse voice. The alien commander increased the power setting on the whip. George took the remaining 10 lashes without making a sound. When it was over, he straightened his back as much as his injuries allowed and spoke to his fellow prisoners. "They can hurt my body, but they cannot touch what makes me human. Stay strong, everyone. We are still free inside." The watching humans did not break down in fear as expected. Instead, they began to clap slowly. The sound grew louder as more prisoners joined in. Soon, over 2,000 humans were applauding, the courage of one old man who refused to be broken. The alien guards looked around nervously. This was not the response their training manuals had predicted. Fear was supposed to spread through the crowd, not respect and admiration. Dr. Amanda Brooks was the next to be selected for special punishment. The aliens had been watching her medical work and decided to make an example of her. They brought her to the center of camp and announced her crime. "This prisoner has been providing unauthorized medical treatment to other prisoners. This behavior disrupts proper camp discipline and must be stopped." Dr. Brooks stood calmly as the charges were read. When Commander Vex Thule asked if she had anything to say before punishment, she nodded. I have been a doctor for 23 years. I have saved the lives of thousands of people, including some who were my enemies. I took an oath to heal the sick and injured, and I will never break that oath no matter what you do to me. She paused and looked around at her fellow prisoners. If you want to punish someone for showing compassion, then I am guilty as charged. But I will not apologize for being human. The aliens had prepared a special torture device for Dr. Brooks. It would cause extreme pain without permanent physical damage, designed to break her will to help others. As the machine powered up, something unexpected happened. Lisa Carter stepped forward from the crowd of watching prisoners. I volunteer to take her place. Then Paul Rodriguez stepped forward. Me too. Kevin Davis joined them. And me. Within minutes, over 300 humans had volunteered to take Dr. Brooks' punishment. They formed a line that stretched across the entire camp, each person ready to suffer rather than let their doctor be tortured alone. Commander Vex Thule stared at this display with growing confusion and alarm. In all of Zephyrian history, no conquered species had ever volunteered to share punishment. The psychological profiles of broken prisoners showed that they became selfish and would sacrifice anyone to save themselves. These humans were doing the exact opposite. The alien commander made a decision that would haunt him for the rest of his career. He canceled the punishment and ordered all prisoners back to their barracks. That night he sent an urgent message to the High Command requesting immediate reinforcements and psychological support. Human prisoners are displaying behavior that contradicts all known models of prisoner psychology, he wrote. Standard techniques not only fail to break their spirit but seem to strengthen their unity. Strongly recommend immediate termination of all human subjects before they contaminate other prisoner populations. The response from the High Command was swift and harsh. Request denied. Humans represent valuable labor resources. Continue psychological pressure until compliance is achieved. Failure to break human resistance will result in your replacement. Vexathol realized he was trapped between impossible orders and an enemy he did not understand. The breaking point came 2 weeks later. The aliens had been watching Jake Morrison carefully and decided he was the key to human resistance. If they could break him publicly, the other prisoners might finally surrender. They brought Jake to the center of camp and announced that he would be executed unless the human prisoners abandoned their organized resistance. They gave the humans 1 hour to discuss their decision. The prisoners gathered in their groups and began to talk. The aliens expected to see arguments and fear as the humans debated whether to sacrifice their leader or continue their defiance. Instead, something beautiful happened. Lisa Carter began to hum a simple tune. It was Amazing Grace, an old song that many Americans knew by heart. Other prisoners began to join in, first humming, then singing the words softly. The song spread through the camp like a wave. Soon, 2,000 human voices were singing together, in perfect harmony. The sound echoed off the prison walls and seemed to make the very air vibrate with power. The alien guards had never heard anything like it. The combined voices of the humans created something that touched their souls in ways they could not understand. Some guards later reported that the singing made them feel emotions they had never experienced before. When the song ended, Jake Morrison stepped forward to address Commander Vex Thule. But before he could speak, something unprecedented happened. Dr. Brooks stepped up beside him. Then Lisa Carter joined them. Paul Rodriguez and Kevin Davis followed. Within minutes, every single human prisoner in the camp stood together in one massive group facing their captors. Jake spoke for all of them. You want to execute me to break our spirits, but you do not understand what you are fighting. I am not the leader here. We all are. Every single person in this camp carries the spirit of humanity inside them. You cannot kill an idea. You cannot execute hope. He paused and looked directly into Commander Vexthol's compound eyes. Go ahead and shoot me. Shoot all of us if you want. But even if you kill every human on this planet, somewhere in the universe, other humans will remember what we stood for, and they will never stop fighting for freedom. The execution was canceled. That night, several alien guards requested transfers to other assignments. Their reports described humans as psychologically dangerous and mentally unstable. Some guards claimed they could no longer sleep properly because they kept hearing human voices singing in their dreams. Commander Vexthul sat in his command center and stared at the surveillance screens showing the human barracks. The prisoners were not sleeping. They were talking quietly, sharing stories, and taking care of each other. Despite being prisoners facing possible death, they seemed somehow happier than their guards. For the first time in his military career, Vexthul began to question whether the Zephyrian Empire was fighting the right war. The humans had won another victory without violence. They had shown their captors something more terrifying than any weapon, the unbreakable power of beings who refused to surrender their humanity no matter what the cost. The crisis reached the highest levels of the Zephyrian Empire when reports about the human prisoners began arriving from other prison camps across the galaxy. The problem was spreading faster than anyone had expected. On Kepler Station, a mining colony near the edge of Zephyrian space, 300 human prisoners had been delivered to work in the underground crystal mines. Within 2 weeks, they had somehow convinced the alien guards to improve working conditions for all prisoners, including the other species who had been there for years. The station commander sent a desperate message to High Command. The humans are teaching other prisoners to resist. The Vorthan slaves, who have been completely obedient for 5 years, are now demanding better food rations. The Keldan workers are refusing overtime assignments. The humans are like a disease spreading through our entire prisoner population. Similar reports came from 12 other facilities. Everywhere humans were sent, the same pattern emerged. They refused to be broken. They helped other prisoners, and they somehow made their captors question the entire system of conquest and slavery. Back on Earth, Commander Vexthul faced his worst nightmare. The Zephyrian High Command had sent a team of their most experienced psychological warfare specialists to solve the human problem. These experts had broken the resistance of dozens of alien species across the galaxy. Chief Interrogator Kexmar arrived with confidence and left 3 days later in complete defeat. His report to the High Command became legendary among Zephyrian military historians. The humans are immune to all standard psychological pressure techniques, he wrote. Isolation makes them stronger. Physical pain increases their determination. Threats against their lives make them more defiant. They appear to possess a mental defense mechanism that converts suffering into spiritual strength. I strongly recommend immediate termination of the entire species before they contaminate our entire prison system. But the High Command had invested too much in the human conquest to give up easily. They decided to try a different approach. Instead of breaking the humans through force, they would try to corrupt them through temptation. Dr. Amanda Brooks was the first target. The aliens brought her to a clean medical facility they had built inside the camp. It had modern equipment, clean supplies, and everything she needed to practice proper medicine. We have watched your dedication to healing, Commander Vexthul told her. We respect this quality. We offer you a choice. Accept this position as camp medical officer. You will have proper tools and supplies. You will be fed well and given comfortable quarters. All we ask is that you focus only on medical care and stop encouraging resistance among the prisoners. Dr. Brooks looked at the beautiful medical equipment with obvious longing. She had been making do with torn cloth and improvised tools for months. This facility could let her save lives she was currently unable to help. What about the other prisoners? She asked. They are not your concern. You are a doctor, not a revolutionary. Practice medicine and leave politics to others. Dr. Brooks spent one night considering the offer. The next morning she gave her answer to the assembled prisoners and guards. They offered me everything I have ever wanted as a doctor. Modern equipment, unlimited supplies, the ability to heal anyone who needs help. She paused and looked around at her fellow prisoners. But they wanted me to turn my back on all of you. They wanted me to save lives while ignoring the spirits and dignity of the people I would be treating. She turned to face Commander Vexthul directly. I cannot heal bodies while ignoring wounded souls. I cannot practice medicine while participating in slavery. My answer is no. The other prisoners began to applaud, but Dr. Brooks held up her hand. For silence. I have a counteroffer for you, Commander. Give me that medical facility and let me treat all prisoners equally regardless of species. Give everyone in this camp proper food and living conditions. Do that, and I will work as your medical officer gladly. Commander Vexthul rejected her terms immediately, but something important had happened. Several alien guards had listened to Dr. Brooks' speech with obvious interest. Later that day, 3 guards approached her privately. "We have family members who work in other prison camps," one guard said quietly. "We have never thought about whether what we do is right or wrong. We just follow orders. But listening to you talk about healing and dignity, we wonder if there might be a better way." Similar attempts to corrupt the other human leaders failed just as completely. They offered Kevin Davis a position as camp construction supervisor with better food and private quarters. He refused unless all prisoners received the same treatment. They promised Paul Rodriguez access to advanced Zephyrian technology if he would stop teaching other prisoners about alien weaknesses. He laughed and said he would rather die ignorant than live as a traitor. Lisa Carter was offered release and safe passage to a neutral planet if she would abandon the other prisoners. She looked at the alien making the offer like he was completely insane. "Leave my people behind? What kind of person do you think I am?" The most elaborate attempt was made with Jake Morrison. The aliens brought him to a communication station and let him speak directly with Earth's remaining government officials who had surrendered to Zephyrian rule. "Captain Morrison," said the voice of former President Williams, "the aliens have offered to negotiate better treatment for all human prisoners if you will convince your people to cooperate with their work assignments. Please consider this opportunity to help your fellow Americans." Jake listened to several similar messages from military commanders and government officials who urged him to accept the alien terms. When the communication ended, he sat quietly for several minutes before responding. "I understand that you believe cooperation is the best path forward," he finally said, "but you are asking me to teach my people to accept slavery in exchange for slightly better slavery. That is not negotiation. That is surrender." He stood up and faced Commander Vexthul. "My answer is the same as it has always been. Treat us as human beings with dignity and rights, or continue fighting a war you cannot win. But do not ask us to help you turn us into something we are not." The failure of the corruption attempts had an unexpected effect on the alien guards. Many of them had expected the humans to accept the offers eagerly. The fact that every human leader chose principle over personal comfort disturbed the aliens in ways they could not explain. Guard Captain Zexnall submitted a report that worried the High Command deeply. Human prisoners continue to reject all attempts at individual corruption. More troubling, their consistent moral behavior is affecting guard morale. Several guards have requested ethics consultations from military chaplains. Some are questioning the moral basis of our conquest policies. Psychological pressure was now flowing in the opposite direction. Instead of the aliens breaking the humans were making their captors question everything they believed about conquest, slavery, and the nature of civilization itself. Commander Vexthul found himself unable to sleep properly. He kept thinking about Dr. Brooks's words about healing wounded souls. He remembered Jake Morrison's questions about human dignity. Most disturbing of all, he began to wonder what his own people had lost when they chose conquest over cooperation. The breaking point came when a young alien guard named Texaville approached Vexthul with a request that shocked the commander to his core. "Sir, I request permission to resign from military service and return to civilian life on our home world." "Explain your reasoning, soldier." "The humans have made me understand something I never thought about before. There is a difference between having power and using it wisely. I do not want to be part of a system that destroys the spirits of good people." Vexthul realized that the humans had achieved something no military force had ever accomplished. They had turned their captors' own soldiers against the system of conquest that defined Zephyrian society. The war was no longer about controlling human bodies. It had become a battle for the souls of both species, and the aliens were losing badly. The Zephyrian High Command faced the greatest crisis in their empire's 1,000-year history. Reports flooded in from across their territory telling the same impossible story. Everywhere humans had been sent as prisoners, the local alien populations were beginning to rebel against their own government. On the industrial world of Proxima 7, alien workers went on strike for the first time in centuries after watching human prisoners share their meager food rations with sick aliens. The strike leaders quoted human sayings about dignity and brotherhood that they had learned from the prisoners. On the agricultural colony of New Vega, alien farmers refused to send their food shipments to the military after seeing humans risk punishment to help wounded aliens in the work camps. The farmers demanded that all prisoners, regardless of species, receive proper medical care and adequate nutrition. Most shocking of all, 3 entire Zephyrian fleet commanders had submitted formal requests for reassignment rather than continue managing human prisoners. Their reports described humans as a threat to military discipline and imperial morale. Emperor Kavalthex himself called an emergency session of the Imperial Council to address what military analysts were calling the human contamination. The meeting took place in the crystal throne room that had witnessed the planning of 1,000 conquests. Explain to me how a defeated species with no weapons and no military force has managed to threaten our entire empire, the Emperor demanded. Fleet Admiral Zonkar, the architect of Earth's conquest, struggled to provide an answer. Your Imperial Majesty, the humans do not fight us in any conventional sense. They simply refuse to become what we need them to be. More dangerous still, they make our own people question what we have always believed about the nature of power and civilization. The Emperor's compound eyes flashed with anger. Are you telling me that our soldiers are being corrupted by the philosophical ideas of primitive aliens? Not corrupted, Majesty. Enlightened. The humans have shown our people a different way of thinking about strength, community, and moral responsibility. Many of our soldiers now believe that true strength comes from protecting others rather than conquering them. Meanwhile, on Earth, Commander Vex Thul received the order he had been dreading. The High Command had made their final decision about the human problem. All human prisoners were to be eliminated immediately to prevent further contamination of Zephyrian forces. Vex Thul stared at the execution order for a long time before calling for his senior staff. When they gathered in his command center, he shared the High Command's decision with them. We have been ordered to terminate all human prisoners within 24 hours, he announced. The Empire believes this is the only way to stop their influence from spreading. Guard Captain Zexnal, who had spent months watching the humans, spoke up immediately. Sir, I formally request permission to be transferred before this order is carried out. I cannot participate in the mass execution of beings who have shown us nothing but courage and compassion. One by one, every member of Vex Thul's staff made the same request. These were veteran soldiers who had participated in dozens of conquests without question. Now they refused to kill prisoners who had never raised a weapon against them. Vex Thul realized he faced an impossible choice. He could follow the High Command's orders and destroy his own career by executing subordinates who refused to obey. Or he could disobey direct orders from the Emperor himself. The decision was made for him when young soldier Texville burst into the command center with urgent news. Sir, the humans know about the execution order. Someone leaked the information. To them, they are gathering in the central courtyard and requesting to speak with you. Vex Thul walked to the courtyard expecting to find 2,000 terrified humans begging for their lives. Instead, he found them standing in perfect formation, calm and dignified, waiting for him to arrive. Jake Morrison stepped forward as their spokesman. Commander, we understand that you have been ordered to kill us. We want you to know that we do not blame you personally for following orders. We also want you to know that we are not afraid. Dr. Amanda Brooks joined Jake at the front of the formation. We have lived as free human beings even in captivity. We have stayed true to our values and helped each other through the darkest times. We are proud of who we are and what we represent. Lisa Carter spoke next. If our deaths will save other innocent beings from suffering, we accept that sacrifice gladly. But we hope that someday, beings throughout the galaxy will remember that humans chose love over hatred even at the end. Paul Rodriguez added his voice. We have learned much about your technology and your society. We know that your people are capable of great things when they follow their conscience instead of their fear. We hope they will find the courage to build something better than an empire based on conquest." Kevin Davis stepped forward last. "We have built many things during our time here. We built shelters for our bodies, but more importantly, we built bonds between our hearts. We built hope where there was despair. We built dignity where there was supposed to be shame. These things cannot be destroyed by weapons." As the human leaders spoke, something extraordinary happened among the Zephyrian guards. Many of them began removing their weapons and setting them on the ground. They could not bring themselves to kill beings who faced death with such grace and courage. Commander Vexthul found himself facing a mutiny, but it was unlike any rebellion in military history. His soldiers were not refusing to fight an enemy. They were refusing to murder innocent people who had become their moral teachers. The moment of truth came when Vexthul raised his own weapon and pointed it at Jake Morrison. The human looked directly into his eyes without fear or hatred, only compassion. "I understand that you believe you have no choice," Jake said quietly. "But you do have a choice. You can choose to be remembered as the commander who saved 2,000 innocent lives, or as the one who destroyed them. Either way, history will remember what happens here today." Vexthul's hand trembled as he held the weapon. Around him he could see his own soldiers watching with expressions of hope and fear. They were hoping he would make the right choice, and fearing what would happen if he did not. In that moment, Vexthul understood what the humans had been trying to teach them all along. True strength was not the power to destroy others. True strength was the courage to protect what was good and right, even when it was difficult or dangerous. He lowered his weapon. "I cannot do this," he announced to his assembled troops. "I will not murder innocent beings who have shown us the meaning of real courage. If the High Command wants these humans dead, they will have to find someone else to kill them." The response from his soldiers was immediate and overwhelming. They began removing their rank insignia and dropping their weapons. Within minutes, the entire garrison had joined their commander in refusing to follow the execution order. The news of the mutiny reached the Zephyrian High Command within hours. For the first time in their empire's history, an entire military unit had refused orders based on moral grounds. The humans had achieved the impossible. They had turned their conquerors into their protectors. Emperor Kvalthex faced a choice that would determine the future of his empire. He could send other troops to execute both the humans and the mutinous guards, risking a civil war that might tear the empire apart. Or he could find another solution to the human problem. The emperor chose a third option that shocked the galaxy. He issued an imperial decree declaring all human prisoners free and offering them transportation to any world of their choosing. The official announcement claimed this was an act of imperial mercy, but everyone understood the truth. The humans had won their freedom not through violence or rebellion, but through the simple act of remaining true to their values under impossible circumstances. They had taught their conquerors that some things were more important than power, and that lesson would echo through the galaxy for generations to come. As the transport ships prepared to carry the humans away from their prison camps, Jake Morrison stood with his friends and looked back at the Zephyrian guards who had become their unlikely allies. "We came here as prisoners," he said, "but we leave as teachers, and maybe that is the most important victory of all."